Hi, and today is the first race of in France this season. There's, it's going to be a strong race, one very much for the punchy riders today. For the start list is quite mixed in my opinion. The start list for today's race, you have some strong riders for this punchy race, such as Barguil and Lenny Martinez. Hold up, I'm just gonna double check on Pro Cycling Stats what the start list is. So for Arkea, oh, Warren Barguil isn't in the race. Arkea don't really have a strong team with AG Dozer, Citroën. You have the likes of Benoit Cosnefroy, um, Oliver Oliver Nyssen. You've got really mostly those two. Cofidis will probably be led by Rémi Rochas, probably, or Benjamin Thomas. Groupama FDJ, I would like to see Lenny Martinez being their leader and pushing for a win. That would be quite fun to see. Um, for Alps in the Koenig, Dries de Bont will be their leader easily. For EF Education Easy Post, their leader today, one for the race will probably be Simon Carr, knowing how, or Mark Padan, for how punchy this race is. I'm not 100% sure it's going to be for the sprinters, unless they're very, very well protected. Um, you have Total Energies, Pierre Latour, most likely via Moz. But yeah, Pierre Latour most likely will be their leader for today. Israel startup, oh, Israel Premier Tech, sorry. Their leader would probably be Hugo Uhl. I'd like to see, or Dylan Toynes. Sorry, Dylan Toynes will very much be their leader, I think. Hugo Uhl, secondary or main lead out, main domestique. X, they're going to be led by Johansson, most likely Anders Johansson. Lotto Destiny, Arnaud Delis is probably going to be their leader today, even though, again, Lotto Destiny is just full of sprinters. And I don't think today is full of sprinters necessarily. And then you've got all the other pro cycling, Conti Pro teams, and even some just Conti teams here, French Conti teams. Just gonna see if I can name a few that of these pro Conti and even just Conti teams that can fight for a good result today. As seen in last couple days, even weeks, especially with the Challenge Mallorca races that I've been having these watch alongs now for the past 2 days, is that these big riders, these big names are not performing well at all. You have the likes of um, so I'm blanking Brandon McNulty or Warren Barguil or even most of the Bora riders like Buchmann, even though he did kind of well in the last race, Conrad and Leonard Kemner. They all, and Julien Philippe, of course, they all really, really did quite poorly. Um, so I wouldn't be surprised. What I'm saying is, I wouldn't be surprised if you have one of these Conti Pro teams or even just Conti teams actually getting like a top five or something. Like for the Saint Michel Aubert team, uh, I wouldn't be surprised if the likes of Romain Cardis gets a top five. Well, I will be surprised, but from the way things are going, definitely a possibility. And also, I know I haven't really been covering it, but the San Juan races have actually gone quite well. Or why? I don't know. I think it got quite a lot of mixed perceptions or mixed reactions to the Miguel Angel Lopez win. Some people are very happy for him that he's won the stage. With now he's in a Conti team, not even his third division now. He was able to win against some of the biggest riders, against Remco, who just was very poor a couple of days ago in that stage where Miguel Angel Lopez won. That was terrible strategy from Remco Evenepoel. Quickstep now, just thinking, I've made some terrible strategy and terrible tactics really in their races in the Challenge Mallorca and in the San Juan races. But the San Juan, they have been making some terrible decisions, tactically speaking. Um, so yeah, and today, if I had to go for a favorite, Benoit Cosnefroid. I know, I would say Benoit Cosnefroid for the win. But the outsiders, I want Lenny Martinez to do very well, but I don't think he's going to. But it's possible. Mark Padon as an outsider chance, Simon Carr, Dries de Bont, yeah, mostly them. Just gonna go down. Pierre Latour, Dylan Teuns, Johansson from X. All these are probably outsiders, aiming for at least top five, all of them. So it'll be a good race, an enjoyable one. If I look at the route today, it's definitely a punchy one, but it's kind of a flat finish. But there is one section in this race where it will be very, very difficult for the riders, like a few kilometers of very, very harsh climbing. And if you're asking me why I'm showing this race and not the others today, 'cause from what I'm seeing, there are countless of other races today. Um, Let me see all the races that there are. See, is the Vuelta San Juan, that's tonight. And as I said previously, I'm not going to do San Juan race, mostly because I want to start doing watch alongs from the first stage. I don't want to start it halfway through. It would just feel a bit wrong, I guess. It wouldn't feel natural. So, but after today, my aim to do my next watch along, my aim is to then do one, hopefully on Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday, and then the Wednesday, hopefully as well. So really, I would like to do all of the Volta Comunidad stage race for multiple reasons. I'm really excited for this race is because it's almost every stage is punchy. There climbs. There's very few flat stages, and I think that'll be quite fun to watch that race. And you've got some big names as well, and there's Bahrain victorious in this race. There's Mika Landa, who's I have kind of a love hate because I'm a fan of Mika Landa. He's probably my favorite rider, but I do really, I guess, as a Mika because I'm Mika Landa fan and how inconsistent he is. I kind of a love like I get just I'm upset most of the time because he can pull off some great performances, but then 50% of the time he just doesn't really perform at all. So it's kind of like just rolling the dice. Really, you don't know what you're gonna get in any race. You can get the best Mikel Landa and get a podium in the Grand Tour, or a dreadful Landa and him DNFing from the race um, halfway through. So it's a bit like Julien Philippe, like that. He could literally destroy everyone, but then he could also easily be forgettable. So that's my plan today, to do Grand Prix Cycliste de la Marseillaise, and then do another one on Tuesday. So tomorrow there won't be any, and not gonna do the Saudi tour mostly because it's all flat and it's for sprinters, and I don't want to watch 2 hours of nothing. And then I'm not a huge fan of sprint races. Like, that's why usually for like sprint races, I only watch highlights and watch like the last 5 kilometers, 10 maximum. That's really when the entertaining parts of the race are. But if there's like a stage race, like Paris Nice, where there's sprints, of course I'll watch that as well, because there's also climbing and everything, and it's part of the whole race. But if it's a stage race full of flat, I won't watch that. It's boring. So that's why I'm going to be doing the Volta Comunidad over the Saudi tour. And if we're looking even further forward ahead after Comunidad Valenciana, I will do the UAE tour. But is there any other race before? Looking at it, it's quite a big gap after Comunidad racing. There's Volta Algarve and Volta Andalucia. I think those are the two I'm going to do afterwards. After the Comunidad race, do both of them hopefully, but it'll be very tricky. I think I'll only be able to do one of these two. I think I'll only be able to do one of these two. It's potential I could do both. That's in the far future. I have to think about that. Then you got the Tour des Alpes-Maritimes as well. So there's going to be a week where it'll be quite difficult to know which race I want to do. But then there's the UAE Tour. Definitely going to do all the stages there. Then all the classics afterwards. And then the Paris-Nice and the Tirreno-Adriatico. So that's kind of my plan. The only thing I'm not 100% sure is that 1 week with 3 stage races happening at once. I don't know how I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do then. So we'll see then. Now back to the race. I think it's about to start soon. Hope. Let's hope. And indeed it has. Let's see how things are going in this race so far. It's going to be, I think it'll be slightly entertaining. I think the past couple of days have been just very strange races. Very, very strange. Like the peloton just not working together at all, letting the breakaway win, or when there's an attack from the peloton don't work together to get back on that the rider's wheel, the rider who attacked. They just seem to just be very passive, just let anyone do anything. If there's an attack, just let them go. So I hope this will be a different one, because it's a different race with all completely different riders, different everything. So hopefully they won't be acting the same way. The peloton and the riders won't act the same way as they did in Mallorca Challenge races so far. I know I'm doing quite a lot of watch alongs, is what I'm thinking right now. It's my third day in a row. I'm not going to do a watch along every day. That's be impossible. There are going to be days I'm going to have, there's going to be times where I'm going to have a couple of days where there won't be anything. And I think there's going to be a point quite soon in the mid to early February. It's going to be like 5 or so days when there won't be really any. Between the Vuelta Comunidad and the other stage race after that, I think there's a gap of a few days, a couple of days, like 4 or 5 days. But yeah, Vuelta Comunidad on Tuesday, I'm very excited for. On Wednesday, well, until the end of the week, I'm quite excited about that one. And also, this is just a plan for my next couple. This is what I want to do is watch alongs for the next couple of weeks. But of course, there'll be things that will come up, and I won't be able to do these watch alongs. But this is just my plan of if I'm free, then these will be the ones I will be doing. Today is going to be quite an enjoyable one. Not a huge start list. I was hoping for a stronger start list today. But it's nice also, what I like about these smaller races is that we're able to see these sort of domestiques in like who would be domestiques in other big races now being leaders of the team and fighting for race wins and everything. I really like that about smaller races. And also having younger riders also going for results like Lenny Martinez here. I wouldn't be surprised if wouldn't be surprised if he's going for a win today. I'm expecting him really to go for at least a podium. As now we finally get live feed of the race. There's a breakaway here of, I believe, 4 riders, 4 minutes ahead of the peloton again, 66 kilometers to go. So going up just a small ramp here, I think. You have the Saint Michel teams. I think it's mostly Conti Pro teams, and even probably just Conti and Conti Pro teams here. The World Tour teams, of course, I think staking in the peloton, and these Conti Pros and Conti teams. Oh no, there is one World Tour rider in there. Don't know why he's in this échappée for, because I think the riders in this breakaway are mostly there for sponsors, for airtime, for sponsorships, and therefore greater money, I guess, for TV money, as well as general investment. As the Groupama rider here is the only World Tour rider here in this breakaway. Now we finally have our first sighting of the peloton that is being led by AG2R La Mondiale. There's a very small train of only 2 riders of AG2R La Mondiale here, but pushing quite hard here. They're off the saddle and pedaling hard. Behind the AG2R, you can see a few EF education riders pushing, but doesn't seem like there has been any break in the peloton. I'm not really surprised. If you look at the route, there's been a few climbs that haven't been too harsh, maybe in the 4+ percentages, but nothing too hard, 4 or 5%, not more. but I think they'll quite soon reach the final, not the final, the most difficult climb. It's around the 50-kilometer mark, 50 kilometers to go mark. So they still have actually 15 kilometers to go till they reach that climb. But it's flat, so it won't take any time whatsoever. I'm sorry if there's loads of pauses where I don't speak. It's just there's nothing quite much to talk about when things aren't changing in the race. I know I have to kind of get better at being a bit like a commentator, I guess, at speaking about, at talking even when nothing much is happening. But I guess I just don't have all the stats and figures that they have all planned before the race. Maybe that's what I have to start doing. I would probably do that when they're like bigger races, like World Tour races. But these smaller pro races, I won't prepare any stats, figures, and anything. And probably UAE Tour might be the first one I'll probably have some stats for, so I can actually talk while there's nothing happening. But I believe the last winner of last year is like one of the few stats I can have. I can add to this. Well, the winner was an RKS Samsic rider. Well, it's actually my, how do you call it? I know how you say it in French, but the cover for this video, I guess, for this live stream, is actually the winner of last year. It's actually a picture of the winner last year. So it was an RKR rider, but I have to check again. It was Capio. It was Capio who won it last year for RKR. But this season, like almost any season as a cycling fan, I'm very excited about this season. Um, but I also am quite worried about just the competition, as I've been saying almost every single watch along so far. There's not much competition for the top, for like being the best rider. There isn't very much competition. It's really between two, maximum three riders. But then there's like a huge group of great like GC riders that are just underneath them. It's been like that for now a couple of years, really, since the Pogacar, Roglic. But then before that, you had Froome. You had just maybe a year or so in between that Froome and Roglic, Pogacar era of a few years where you had different winners. You had a Yates brother who won the Grand Tour. That would never happen ever again. It's just because they didn't have a Froome of the early 2010s or Pogacar and Roglic of the past few years. So I'm just a bit worried that it's gonna be quite obvious. Like if I predict the Grand Tour winners this year, Giro, Evenepoel, Tour de France will be Pogacar, and the Vuelta. To be honest, as I said before in previous streams, haven't even still yet checked the start list for the Vuelta, so can't really say much. But it might be a Ineos rider most likely if they don't have Pogacar or any like Pogacar or Roglic or Vingegaard. It'd probably be an Ineos rider. Or Carapaz, who's now at EFE Education. Now go back on the race because something is actually happening. peloton have severely lowered the gap on the breakaway in the space of 5 kilometers. They've lowered the gap by a minute and a half. That is crazy. Going down here hill, all done, all thanks to AG2R leading this peloton quite fast and quite powerfully down this descent. As the breakaway are now on a flat, quite a flat part of this race now. 10 kilometers ish away from the hardest climb, which I think it will be about 4 kilometers long, I think, from the looks of it. With some steep gradients of, I think, over 10%, which is why it's the most difficult climb, and where attacks can be made. But that's still 50 or so kilometers away from the end. You got one or three other climbs as well after that. 3 climbs, really. 2.5, let's say, is one, the last one, which is not that. It's like 3% for like 2K or 3K. So I would say about after the very hard climb, in about 10 kilometers time, there's probably just 2 other significant climbs before the descent to the finish. But from what I've seen in the profile and the stages for this Grand Tours, I'm really liking it, especially I believe it's in both the Giro. It's in 2 of the Grand Tours. I have to check again. Sorry, I'm not well prepared. But it's in the Tour de France in one. I'm not sure between La Vuelta and Giro. I get them confused quite a lot. Where there's a time trial stage that goes up like the steepest of gradients, like at like 15% for like a good few kilometers as well, like 4 kilometers or something. So those stages I'm quite excited for. There's gonna be some good mountains and good punching. I think these races, these Grand Tours, have become a bit more punchy than mountainous, and I kind of enjoy that because I think one of the more enjoyable things about punchy races is the fact that a rider who gets dropped in a punchy race can easily get back to the front group or things or similar things like that. But in a mountain stage, if you get dropped, you're dead. And you're not getting back up. Because that's like the more entertaining factor of punchy races over mountainous ones. The mountainous, the real entertainment I feel about mountains is when you have the group of leaders, everyone else has been dropped, or you have even a bit of an upset where you have someone you wouldn't think would be in the group in of favorites near the top of the climb being there and actually even fighting for the win or for a good result. And when there are attacks that are made from that group of favorites near the top when there's like a few kilometers left to go, that's kind of the more entertaining parts. Is that time where there are attacks that take place from the peloton. As here, we go back as the breakaway have now reached a bit of a strong climb here. A very, very difficult climb for about 3 kilometers. Well, now about two, maybe. I think from looking at the profile, yeah, they're going up this kind of steep ramp before going downhill all the way to the bottom of the very difficult climb, the most difficult climb of the day. That would be excited to see if there will be any attacks made by both the breakaway or the peloton at the bottom of that climb, or is the peloton trying to catch up with the breakaway by the time they reach the bottom of that very difficult climb? They have 500 meters to go to the top, and for about 10 kilometers now, since we've had live footage, about 10 kilometers, the gap that the breakaway has with peloton dropped significantly by 2.5 minutes now. So they have 1.5 minutes away here. The peloton now up this climb, this little ramp, is being led by EF Education rider and the EF Education team, really, because the one behind, there was a small little train there at the front of the peloton, EF Education. So from the looks of it, it could be either EF Education, but they've got some good riders in this race. Oh, as I'm saying that, one of the riders from the breakaway, Saint Michel rider, is being dropped and he's completely done. He's almost just cycling on the spot here up this climb. Yeah, this breakaway is not strong enough, and they should get caught by the peloton quite soon here. They're going very slow up this climb. Another rider, I think, is going to get dropped by this breakaway. Funnily enough, the one that's at the front of this breakaway that's causing everyone to just get dropped in this breakaway is a World Tour rider, and the others pro riders are getting dropped. Finally, to some extent, something normal happening in the first few days. A World Tour rider dropping pro Conti and pro riders. Because the past few days has been the opposite, which is shocking. So it's nice to see a bit of a norm. But who is that Groupama FDG rider in the breakaway? Yeah, there's one pro Conti rider that's actually staying with him in the breakaway. He's staying very, very strong on his wheel. Number 32 from Groupama. Oh, there's been an attack from the peloton by a Cofidis rider here, and an EF Education and AG Desert rider has joined with him in this attack. The Cofidis rider up this very steep climb. Who could it be? I think who could be the Cofidis rider up this attack, up this climb? Strong ride here, but he's been caught back with the peloton here. Sorry for not speaking for a few seconds there. Yeah, but that little attack has been just eaten up by the peloton once again. And now it's an RKR rider at the front of this peloton. Is this a big climb? I think this might be the big climb, actually. I might have been completely wrong the whole time. I was just trying to look at the profile and the race and see where we would be, where we are. I think I might have been wrong. This is probably the climb that they're talking about. It's actually most certainly is. But peloton has been split in two here. Still big group there. Peloton with, I'd say, about 35, 40 riders. Not like a small peloton, still quite a big one. But now peloton's only 1 minute and 15 seconds behind the breakaway. As now you can just see the whole shot of the whole mountain here, and you see peloton. They look like they're further away than a minute and 15 seconds. But from this aerial view, the team with the most amount of teammates, I'd probably say it's RKS Samsic or EF Education. I think a lot of teams have about two, like three or so riders left. But this is a race really for these smaller riders to grab a very good result here. Like, where's Lenny Martinez? That's one I'm really more the rider I'm most interested in today. That's my, I guess, one to watch in this race. Lenny Martinez. It's very difficult without the sound to know who's who and everything. So I'm sorry if I can't tell you the name of the people that are up in this peloton or not. I tried to put the sound, but when I looked over in my previous watch longs, it didn't go very well with audio wise, at least. Like it kind of was very abrasive, I guess, when I'm talking and you can hear the commentating as well. I think it's not very nice to listen to, unless that's what you guys want. But when I watched over, it didn't sound very nice. As here we see an attack from the peloton, Israel Premier Tech attack with Cofidis and EF Education, Easy Post joining them, and the rest of the peloton have now reached that attack. That was another poor attack. Quite a lot of poor attacks here from these riders in the peloton, as RKS Samsic rider tries, but then abandons his attack very quickly. Clearly see these are not exactly world class Grand Tour and GC riders here. These attacks are bearing no fruits whatsoever and getting caught very easily. Now a minute ahead the breakaway. At the very top of this climb, I think they've reached the top of the climb. The Groupama de G riders Enzo Paleni, never heard of him in my life. To be honest, I would say over 60% of these riders I probably have never seen in my life. As there is an attack from the Total Energies rider, probably Pierre Latour. I guess the only way I know is if they wear the number 1 on their backs, then I know that they're the leader of the teams. And from there I can make an educated guess as to who it is. But else it's very difficult to know. city of Marseille, the visuals we see, just a huge landscape of Marseille and the hills around it. Looks like the profile of Marseille and the hills around it kind of seems like a place I would like to cycle up. Some just more of a mountain climb. I'm more of a climbing kind of cyclist. So climbing up hills, mountains, kind of something I like. Not punchy because I guess my stature I'm kind of small, don't weigh much. So mountain is kind of my best thing. I tried last summer to do some punchy climbs, and that was not amazing. Like some very harsh gradients of over 10% for just like a few hundred meters, and it took me loads and loads of um, tries to actually be able to get to the top of that climb without putting my foot down, let alone going quickly. Because there's like short bursts of power I just don't have in my legs, or I just don't have that weight, that power. As the riders now are descending after the climb, going down same hill. Plus a beautiful shot. That's a very nice visual there of the roads literally where the cyclists are going down, literally meters away from a cliff towards the ocean, and we can see the ocean. Well, the sea actually, Mediterranean Sea. It's a very nice shot. As two riders have kind of split away from this peloton group here, and this whole peloton has actually been obliterated down this climb. Riders, just loads of small groups here, very close together, small gaps between them, but just loads of small groups here. Peloton been kind of separated going downhill here. As we see the breakaway, only 45 seconds away now from the peloton. Going to be it's impossible for them to win. They're going to be caught up probably by the time they reach the bottom of this descent. It's 40 kilometers to go. Then there's like a slow uphill for approximately 10 kilometers, give or take. Maybe slightly less, like 8 kilometers. It's a gradual uphill. Once they reach the bottom of this descent. Well, right now we can see the breakaway again with Groupama rider at the very front. He's been pulling all day. Not surprising, knowing that it's only been Conti proteins in that breakaway. Do I still follow my prediction and who I think is going to win? Did I even mention who I thought was going to win? No, I did before, and then I realized Warren Barguil wasn't in the race. If he wasn't, he'd destroy everyone because it's not very strong. I think I said Benoit Cosnefroy. Yeah, I said Benoit Cosnefroy, and if not him, Lenny Martinez. It's like my outsider. But she's one where certain win is Benoit Cosnefroy, and my outsider, my dark horse would be Lenny Martinez, even though he is one of the favorites to win as well. I think they've reached the bottom of the climb here, of the descent, and going back up, I think, a bit from the looks of these aerial shots. Yeah, going up this gradient back up. I think the profile that was given by Pro Cycling Stats is slightly off. They're like a few kilometers behind, I think. Something because, but he's Peloton is an Arkea rider attacked. And if it, well, it's not really a Peloton anymore. It's like 10 riders. But Arkea rider is attacked, and the EF Education rider looks like probably Simon Carr from the looks of it is following. And a Grupa Maif DG rider, hopefully that's Lenny Martinez, is trying to get onto this attack right behind. I really hope Lenny Martinez does well because, as you've probably seen, either if you watched it live in last year, the Tour de l'Avenir, or watched the documentary on GCN, you clearly have seen that Lenny Martinez did not do very well at all in Tour de l'Avenir. So, and he has so much potential, and I guess that's France in a way. They just hype their riders up significantly. A bit how English players for football. That's like French riders for cycling. As they go back downhill now, breakaway, trying to guesstimate where they are. Very difficult to know from this profile. I'm going back and forth from the live coverage and the profile. See, kind of guesstimating, I guess, where they could be and where they are. I'm getting it just slightly wrong a few times. But they're 38 kilometers now from the finish, and the breakaway are only 22 seconds away. As with this aerial shot, we can now clearly see how close the breakaway and the peloton are. As I think it's the F Education rider still at the front of this. I guess you can call it peloton, even though there's still just very few riders left in this peloton. Followed by, I believe it's an Israel team or Groupama from the aerial shot can we visibly see. It's a breakaway of two here still ahead, but they're easily going to be caught up very quickly as they're only 10 seconds now ahead. Is it going to be a sprint finish? Is it going to be one for punchers? Is it going to be an attack from distance? And what I mean by an attack from distance is 10 kilometers away, something like that. Not like 80 kilometers away because there's only 30 kilometers left. I'm very excited. I hope I can watch as much cycling as possible this year. I'm really excited. For Comunidad this week. Well, yeah, this week it'll be quite exciting. Then you probably have about a week of nothing, but then you have a week of 3 stage races happening all at once. That'd be very difficult to choose which one to do. Then after that, you have UAE Tour, and then you have the classics after that. With the Paris-Nice and Tirreno Adriatico, which those Tirreno Adriatico I really like. Of those two World Tour races that happen at the same time, I think I'm a bit more of a Tirreno Adriatico fan. Yeah, as we can see the breakaway now, both the riders looking back and seeing the peloton closing in on them right now. They're less than 5 seconds away, maybe just even a second or two now. Or as the riders that are taking the longer road around this roundabout here. There's a huge attack happening in the peloton. What's happening on the flat part of the race? There's been a huge attack. 2 or 3 riders being dropped out the back here, as there are quite a few others struggling near the back as well. But a Total Energies rider, hopefully Pierre Latour, he's also very strong possibility to win this. As you have a Groupama FDJ, there's one very small guy. I'm thinking there's Lenny Martinez because he's a very small person. That helps him with his mountains. So. As now AG2R riders at the front. I'm speaking as if they're 2 kilometers away from the finish, but still 33 kilometers away. So I'm not saying much because, again, as said before, there's not much happening right now. Just peloton. They have now, I think, got back. That just, I guess, swallowed the breakaway right now. As a rider there, EF Education rider, literally went the complete wrong direction there. Literally, now he's been dropped because he just went the completely wrong direction there. That is very, very poor from the AF Education rider. What was he thinking? He's gonna have to. Well, as soon as I said you will have to work hard to get back. He's now back in that group of approximately 10 or so riders. That is now technically the peloton. With the Groupama FDJ, there's an EF Education, there's an Arkea, there's a Lotto Destiny. I think the rest are pro Conti and pro cyclists there. Where's actually Dozer? Il y a Benoît Cosnefroy. It doesn't seem to be in this front group here. And, well, to be honest, now we have visuals of the Bay of Marseille with these fucking massive yachts. Jesus Christ. Very beautiful to see, but also very jealous. I haven't even been to Marseille. I've been to a town just near Marseille. That doesn't mean anything. But yeah, as we finally see coverage of the front group here, led by Pro Conti rider Tudor. I think it's a Tudor team. I've really only just heard of that team, like end of last season, probably around last season, mid-season. Probably need to put a bit more light on, I think, just looking at live. think that should help a bit. Yeah, it's much better now, I think. Well, not much, but a bit better. Just over the light there. Looks a bit too dark. As now, there's also a Israel Premier Tech rider now in this group of front group here. But I don't see any AG Desert riders. As a Total Energies rider attacks, and a EF Education rider follows the attack. It's still 30 kilometers away. I guess because it's actually very active, this race, which is why, for me at least, it just feels like it should be about 10 kilometers to go or even less. Like the last, like single digits at least. But it's still 30 kilometers left. Just attacks, there's just loads of attacks in this race. And now the attacking group have now detached themselves from the peloton. It's 3 riders. 2 World Tour riders and a Conti rider, a 3rd division rider. So sad to see that. As I think some riders who were dropped before have now joined back with this peloton, as we can see now Cofidis rider and the second Groupama FDJ rider in this group. But still no AG Desert riders I can see. What's happened to AG Desert? Where's Benoît Cosnefroy? LGI. There's Okay, so finally we can see a bit more. So yeah, the front group here has Lenny Martinez, he's number 34. You've got Nilson Paulus. I completely forgot about him. He's in this race. EF Education. He's got a strong chance of winning. But Lenny Martinez, number 34. Now I know his number. I can now distinguish him, I guess. So yeah, now the peloton are all back together. The attack has been swallowed up. The attack from the Tudor EF Education rider has been swallowed up. I think the group is about 15 people in this front group here. Just under 30 kilometers to go. Just under 30 kilometers to go. They're up this little ramp here. Or they're about to go downhill, something like that. I think they're going up this ramp before they go downhill. It's a Tudor rider that's leading this group. The Tudor Pro Conti team, I don't even think they're Pro Conti, have 2 riders in this front group. You got Thibaut Guernalec, he's the RKR rider, the solo RKR rider. You've got Valentin Ferron for Energies, Chris Nylands, Joe Suter. He's in the Tudor team. Oh, Joe Suter is a Tudor rider. Did not know that. So really, Lenny Martinez out of this group, even though it's not super climby, really, there's not much steep parts in this race anymore. So it might not be a Lenny Martinez race. Premier Nielsen Palace. It's about 11 degrees over there. Not too cold, but not too warm. Knowing that it's January. It's quite warm for January. 11. I haven't seen any Martinez. I want to see what his calendar is for this year. He's going to be in the World Tour race. He's going to be in La Vuelta this year. That would be very exciting to see. So far, he's been given the role to ride in La Vuelta. He's going to be in La Vuelta Ciclista. He's got a good. He's got a good. He's going to be in La Vuelta. I'm very happy about that. Happy to see that for him. As now we see Lenny Martinez with his teammate. All eyes are on Lenny Martinez in this race. Number 34. At least now I know where he is and who he is in this group. And the F Education rider is Nissan Paulus. So I like to see these. Like these riders would always be like domestiques, not even like them the main domestiques. So it's like just just a domestique, I guess. It's like an ordinary domestique in like world tour races. But right now they're the leaders in these types of races, and I like to see that. Yeah, that's what I like to see. These kind of riders are usually just forgotten about, or like the back of our minds in big races. Here there is a time to shine. That's what I like a lot about road cycling. One of the many things that make me like cycling so much, road cycling, professional road cycling so much. Oh, Lenny Martinez, he's at the very back of this front group now. Is he just holding back and not using up too much of his energy, or is he struggling? I'd be surprised if he's struggling because you've got some third division riders who are still in his front group, and this guy has potential to be classics winner, or at least like a maillot à pois winner in the Tour de France, or like stage winner in the Tour de France. I don't think he's ever going to be winning a Grand Tour or even podiuming a Grand Tour in his career. I don't think he's ever going to do that. You've got so many amazing youngsters, and you've got Pogacar that's going to be there for the next 10 years. And Vingegaard is... How old is Vingegaard? Is he young, or is he an old rider? Old, I mean, like in his mid to... Well, older rider than Pogacar. Pogacar, he's like 22, 23 now. He's not that young anymore. He's 23? He's 23, 4? How old is Pogacar now? Oh, as soon, we'll check that later because there's been an attack there from the front group from an Israel Premier Tech rider and the Groupama rider following that attack right behind. Can't see his number, so it's Chris Nylands from Israel that has attacked. And only 5 other riders that was able to join his attack. One of them being a Groupama rider, and the Israel Premier Tech rider, Chris Nylands, is furious with the rest of the group here. But EF Education rider says, "Wait, if you're angry with me, mate, then I'm just going to attack on you." But his attack was very... Nathan Palace's attack was useless up there. As now both of the Tudor riders have been dropped. Kind of expected now. I was hoping they'd be dropped sometime because they're the only third division riders left in that group. They got distance. You still have Pro Conti riders, second division, but as I believe that's Lenny Martinez at the front of this group. Hopefully, still can't see the number on his back. But he's kind of a small person right now. And yeah, now we're looking back at the third division riders that have been dropped from the group. Kind of expected at this point, but great performance from them. Could probably move up to second division in 2 years' time. Because it's every 2 years now that they do the promoting and dropping. And is it between second and third division as well, or is it only first and second? This race has been both very passive but also very entertaining at the same time. In a way, it's just been more normal, I guess, than the other two races. That I'm just very confused. This is a bit more normal but entertaining. So, oh, is that Nielsen Paulus? Is he getting dropped? There's loads of riders getting dropped here. Just naturally, they just don't have any energy anymore. What's happened? Did they just fall asleep? It's, oh no, because they're all trying to get back up. There's a huge split of the 10 riders at the front of this race. Now only 5 riders at the front of this race. Just naturally, just something happened. They just fell asleep. And it's Lotto Destiny again as a rider in that group. Lotto Destiny in the past couple races that I've been watching have been outperforming. Crazy. Okay, now all the other riders that got dropped momentarily are back onto the front group here. Nielsen Paulus and Sir Kofidis rider. But Lotto Destiny still have a rider in the front group, mate. Clearly going into Pro Conti have been a good thing because they've been performing very well in races where they shouldn't be really anywhere. Especially with their riders. They're so bad. Their rider qualities are so bad. They have Caleb Ewan for sprints. That's all they have. And maybe Arnaud Deli. So their sprinting is really good for Pro Conti. For World Tour, it's below average. Maybe average. Mediocre, let's just say. Before Pro Conti is very strong, but then when it comes to climbing, punching, GC, they've got no one. I think they should go to Nero Quintana. Now think about it. To have some, because then they're going to get all their points from sprints. But now they can get some ranking points with climbing with Quintana. But then you need lead outs and domestiques as well. You can't do it on his own. Or Miguel Angel Lopez won the stage a couple of days ago, just doing everything on his own. Okay, now enough of me rambling. Back to the race. It's kind of a stalemate now after all the attacking and very intense, about between 5 and 10 kilometers of just pure attacks and intensity. Now I think things are a bit stalemate. There's a Kofidis rider at the very back that's struggling to stay on, even though this is kind of like the more calmer point of this race. Even though they're still going very fast, they're just no one's attacking. It's a lot of power being put at the front of this group. They're going very fast, just no attacks. Well, I guess that's why there is no attacks, is because they're all going very fast and attacking would be pointless. As now they're 22 kilometers away. Let's see what there is 22 kilometers away. There's a bit of uphill, I believe. There's uphill then downhill, then some strong uphills, and then downhill to the finish. But it's still very punchy, as I said, up, down, up, and then down. I see the last kilometers of the race. Yeah, it's downhill at -3% gradient. So the last 3 kilometers. So yeah, so I'm not talking much just right now as I'm focusing on this race. Nothing much is happening except Lenny Martinez is at the back of this group, this leading group again. But it's kind of a flatter area right now. It's not super uphill. It's false flat, I'd say. And it's not exactly the greatest at flat parts. There's like Mikel Landa, who can literally get dropped on at flat moments of the race. If it goes strong enough, if the peloton goes strong enough on flat stages, riders like Lenny Martinez or even Mikel Landa can get dropped. I know I'm talking about Mikel Landa again, but I'm just very confused at how he's just so overpowered in mountains, but he's just not good at literally anything else. Maybe downhill he's quite good, but then flat, time trial, sprint, even punching he's somewhat good. He's decent at actually. So punching, downhill, and climbing, like pure climber, is there's always good at. So I guess like mountain and punchy side races he's good at. But anything else he's completely useless. Unless he's got so many off days. I'm sorry I'm rambling about Michelanda, but he just irritates me, even though I really like I'm a fan of his. But for young riders, I'm not 100% sure. I like David Gaudu, really now, because I usually don't really like French riders, even though I am French. So I'd say David Gaudu, I quite like, even though he's not that young anymore. Crazy how time flies by. So Ryan Barguil is like in his 30s now. It's crazy how time flies. It's like 29 or something. I remember when he used to be like 22. When he got that, when he won the Maillot à Pointe Tour de France, you know. So now under 20 kilometers left of this race. Still, same riders in this group. Nothing much changing. Which at least leaves me, I think, a bit of time to see how old Pogacar is, because to be honest, time has flown by very quickly. Last couple of years. He's 24. I thought he was like 22, 23. He's 24. Jeez. I remember when he was like, wow. Oh, and he's got a huge contract to 27 with UAE. He's probably going to extend that contract significantly after that. UAE have a strong team now, especially in the GC, with when they just got Adam Yates. Like for like the Tour de France or any race Pogacar is in now, you can have the world class and like the best domestiques possible for the mountains. You got Adam Yates, you got Joel Almeida, Brandon McNulty, yes, Mark Hirschi even sometimes. It's the front group now. Reach this small little ramp with Pierre-Luc Perrichon from Cofidis at the front. So now Lenny Martinez is near the front of the group. Around third wheel, I think. Or is he? He's third wheel. And now he's moving up to first. Now he's at the front of the group, I think. I don't think he's going to be the leader. I think he's going to be lead out for his teammate, I think. Or he would be pushing in the peloton. As a Tudor rider has been able to join with this group again after being dropped. Just shows how kind of slow things have been really past few kilometers. But yeah, in general, this has been a weird race again, but not as weird, not as weird as before. There was a spurt of attacks, 30 or so kilometers left of the race, between like 25 and 30 kilometers of the race to go. There have been spurts of attacks. And now it's kind of died down when we're closer to the finish. When you think it'll be the opposite way around. This has been a decent race so far. Nothing much happening. Still, this group of around 10 to 15 riders, like 12 maybe. Front group. Quite passive. Getting tired. It's not good. Need to go to the gym also today. So I don't need. Yeah, I think I do. Sorry. There's now we're nearing 15 kilometers left to go in this race. It's Nelson Powers at the front of this group. He's been pushing a lot in this race, but now it's the Tudor rider. And now it's Lenny Martinez. And I'm just stating names here at this point. Just really nothing much happening. No attacks. Just everyone's waiting. I don't know what they're waiting for. Are they gonna attack near the top of the little ramp before it goes downhill to create a gap? Or are they just gonna try and go as fast as possible downhill and create gaps like that? It's now the second Tudor rider has been able to join back in the group. It's very, again, weird tactics, mate. Letting a team get two of their riders back. To be honest, Nielsen Palace is very upset right now. Because he's been the one pulling the most. everything. It's Christian Islands now. $15 to go. Nothing much still happening. I'm sorry, it's quite I'm being a bit more boring than my other two watch alongs. I just really have no idea what to say. Let's talk about here. Well, I can talk about my predictions for Landa's career. I don't know. I'm rambling at this point. Nothing's happening. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's just literally, it's just nothing's happening. It's just 15 riders here, just pacing. We're quite slowly here. Not exactly super entertaining as I thought it'd be. Oh my god. Is there just gonna be a bunch spread at the end? That's a bit weird because I'm just surprised any Martinez didn't go for an attack. So now they're just downhill to the finish, I believe. There may be a small little ramp uphill before, but I think it's just downhill really from here. As it's Nielsen Paulus here at the front of this group going downhill. Creating a small gap as well. Not a significant one, but visible gap at least from the group. Okay, one thing I can talk about is I still don't really understand this Coupe de France ranking system in cycling when it's like French races. I'm confused. Does anyone care about that ranking? I don't think anyone cares about that ranking. It's just pointless. Which is, I guess, why I don't understand it because I don't think why it exists. I just don't know how it works as well. Should probably look that up. So here we're nearing 13 kilometers left of the race. Still around 15 riders. There's been really nothing happening for the past 5 or so kilometers, maybe even like 10. Except for the fact that Nielsen Palace has been able to distance himself from the group when going downhill. How big of a distance has he created? Gap? He's created a significantly big one here. Yeah, minute gap as he reaches this bottom of this climb. Just not a significant one, really. Will the group there behind reach reach him or not? Let me know if I need sound on or anything, because I'm Still just quite confused. Well, not confused, I just don't know which one is better. Do you want me to have the sound of the commentating on? So they help me as well. I don't know if that's what I can do, but it's what I want to do. It's very difficult for me to understand what's really happening. As the group behind the is that a minute and 13 seconds? That looks a lot closer than that. Nissan Palace here, who was able to naturally, I almost say, detach himself from the group going downhill just naturally. I don't think he did a special like attack going downhill. I think he just took the corners a lot better than the rest and everything. As Lenny Martinez, I think, is the rider. He's trying to, put some effort in the peloton. As right now, the Total Energies rider in this group has put extra attack on this group to chase the Nielsen Palace, and the Cofidis rider has been dropped after that strong attack from Total Energies. But Lotto Destiny rider is still there. I guess I'm gonna create this as a running gag now. Lotto Destiny doing things that they didn't do when they were World Tour team. As now the Lotto Destiny rider looks like he's gonna attack now. He's gone for the attack. But this bloody motorcycle camera was blocking his attack there. But even with these attacks, the gap is still the same. I believe. Nielsen Palace here just cruising. As I said, I did say that this could be a win from a long distance attack to win. And I said around 10 kilometers, but it was around 13, 14. There's now Lenny Martinez trying to attack here, but somewhat unsuccessfully. I think they've kind of used up their energy as a Chris Nylands has attacked. Just attacks after attacks finally, with Arkia, Ryder, and Lenny Martinez joining the attack, and everyone. Now this group behind Nielsen Paulus have 8 riders in. 8 riders in this group. Lenny Martinez being one of them. My man to watch for this race. Not saying how he's going to win it. To be honest, the one I said is going to win has been, I don't know what happened to him, Benoit Cosnefroy. I don't know what happened with him. Lenny Martinez at the front of this group, trying to push this group to lower this gap between them and Nielsen Palace. But it very much looks like it's a Nielsen Palace win from here. I think it's a bit too late. Because now it's just downhill to the finish. As now the Lotto Destiny rider, he's getting angry with the group here, shaking his head, waving his arms here. Nielsen Palace at the front, just doing what he does really. cheating his way to victory. It's just gonna be another win here from long distance again, as the last couple races have been. Long distance attacks. Sorry, I'm also not bringing a lot of energy because I'm also quite tired. Don't know why. Have to go to the gym as well. Not great, not great. It's like completely collapse afterwards. Now Kofidis rider leading this group. Nothing much is happening. I'm very sorry. Nothing much is happening at all. It's absolutely nothing. I've already said quite a lot about other things except for this race. I guess I can make a prediction of who's going to win Volta Comunidad. Of course, I want Michelanda to win it, but slightly punchier more than climb, like pure climb. Which is why actually Michelanda might be leader, because Per Bilbao is pure climber, I believe. He doesn't really like doing bursts of power. He just goes at his own rhythm. I think Caruso is somewhat the same. Then you have Vlasov. You got, is it Almeida? One of the UAE, big UAE riders that isn't Pogacar. No, it's Ayuso, Juan Ayuso. He's a strong shout for Comunidad. So you got a few. You got those are the three: Michelanda, Vlasov, and Juan Ayuso. That's a difficult one. Then you got some few outsiders, I think. I think this will be my longest watch along so far. It's only my third. I don't know if I'm doing well now, but yeah, he's the distance between Nielsen Paulus here and the group right behind him is staying the same. You know, he's keeping distance with them with under 10 kilometers to go. This has been not as entertaining as I hoped it would be. I really hope Volta Comunidad will bring a bit more spark in it. I guess it's nice to see that at least Lenny Martinez will get a top 10 from this race, but it's kind of expected. Looking at the start, this wasn't great. I was hoping it would be a lot better. It would be like a Warren Barguil, a David Gaudu, like all the great French riders, but no. Except for Romain Bardet. Romain Bardet rarely does these types of Coupe de France races. They got Thibaut Pinot, David Gaudu, and so on. They often do these types of races. Warren Barguil. Plus a very smooth transition there from the landscapes fading into Nielsen Palace here. Just TTing his way up. I don't know what's up. The only thing that's happening is Nielsen Palace that is TTing up this, but I guess not really up, but along this race here, along the roads, and Lenny Martinez and co 25 seconds behind now. He has been for past 2 or so kilometers. Don't think Nielsen Palace is going to be caught up here. Jesus, that aerial view, to be honest, these aerial views and these shots have been quite nice for such a boring and small race. Like, these riders are just riding, no one's getting dropped, no attacks, no agitation. In these races, there's no radios, right? Is there only like World Tour races that they have radios? And pro races like that, but not these like third division races, I guess you can always call them. Third tier races. World Championships don't have the radio as well, right? I'm just making all kinds of assumptions here. But yeah. It's quite a debate last season about having radios or not. I think for a period of time there's quite a big debate about that. And I like the fact that they both should exist, like races with and some races without. Or like whether the big races like should they be mixed between the big races, whether they should or should not. Like I know, imagine in La Vuelta you have radio, but Giro you don't. But then that might completely change the team's strategy of who should go to which race. As here you can see a football stadium of Marseille, the Vélodrome. Was now called Orange Vélodrome. They've been sponsors, Just call it the Vélodrome. The gap is now at 20 seconds at 8 kilometers to go. It's just downhill from here, so you'll see. Wow, as Nielsen Paulus just decided to go for a sprint here and increase the gap in like seconds from 20 to 30. Or when that's downhill, it's his specialty. So yeah, geez, he's taking that corner very well. This is where he's gonna create massive gaps here. That's how he created that like 20-second gap. Also, previous downhill where he just left the peloton sleeping. He's over 30 seconds now. It's Nielsen Palace win from here, I think. From 20 to 30 in space of seconds. Yeah, they're still going downhill. No one in this this group chasing Nielsen Palace are being dropped down this hill. They're actually kind of doing, they're actually taking turns pulling down this hill. Very bizarre. Still staying around 30 seconds, this gap. 6 kilometers left. So going downhill, the distance does quickly drop. To be honest, these shots are very, very nice. I'm not gonna lie. Very nice visuals here in this race. This has now, I think, been my longest watch along in the race. There was 6 kilometers to go. So an American is going to win in France here with an American team. I live quite near one of their EF educations. I think it's called like their strategy, where they, I guess, almost their headquarters. I won't say it's their headquarters, but yeah, the team's place. So I'll be quite happy if they win here, because they had a couple of years of being mediocre right in the World Tour for like a few years. They had that Hugh Carthy moment of greatness, but then they didn't really have much after that during COVID. Lenny Martinez here at the front of the group. 5K to go. And the gap has now increased to 35 seconds. I think it's going to be a win for Nielsen Palace. First win from an American this season so far, I believe. Yeah, it's going to be a win for him here. Sorry for the past couple, like 20 plus minutes now. I haven't really been talking much. At least nothing of great importance to this race, but it's just nothing much happening. Like even these riders, they kind of like they're getting they're getting bored on the streets right now. You can see the Israel Premier Tech rider here. Getting very bored here. He's literally just riding with one hand on the wheel and just the other one doing nothing. He's very passive, really, from this group here. Fighting for a podium, clearly. I think they've given up on catching up on Nielsen Palace here. Still possible to catch up with him. It would just require a lot. But again, in the final few kilometers, everyone just seems to just give up and just be so passive. Guess this is going to be something we're going to have to get used to this season. Attacks happening during the middle of the race, and then near the end, they just give up. This has been quite a very boring race. It's not a great start of the season, I'm not going to lie as well. Kobe goes on 22 races in a row. Just shows. He's a great rider, but he shouldn't be winning 2 races in a row against the likes of Buchmann, Conrad, um, Julien Alaphilippe. Warren Barguil and all that. Maybe Warren Barguil will be a competition, but the others, no, I don't think he should be winning. And some others I'm just forgetting. As soon as this race ends, I'm gonna stop the live because it has just been so boring. I'm very sorry. Nissan Palace with the win now. Easy. Okay. Who's going to get podium? I don't think it's going to be Martinez. It's going to be a sprint finish. So 2 kilometers left of the race. Yeah. I'm just a bit upset with the peloton these couple of days. In a couple of races, they just don't do anything. There's just nothing happening in the peloton ever. Yes, Nissan Palace is probably doing crazy stuff, but it shouldn't be creating a bigger gap. You know, shouldn't be increasing the gap by 2 in the space of like 2 kilometers. I think this is probably one like the final straight or something. As Nissan Palace wins, getting ready for second and third. Again, very boring race. I guess I was probably just also not very much in the mood for this. But this was a good race. Quite boring to be honest. Nissan Palace, an easy victory. Just been constant attacks from far. As fight for his podium has started, Groupama rider has broken away from the group here, but he's going to be easily caught. Nielsen Palace celebrates. He still has so much energy. Nielsen Palace still has so much energy. Jesus Christ. Clearly, it did seem to be a very difficult day at work for him. As here comes the fight for a podium, as the Lotto Destiny rider is at the front of the group, with the Total Direct Energies right behind. Lenny Martinez is near the back. Now he's at the back of this group, realizing that he's not going to win the sprint. It's going to be his teammate here. But oh wow, the Tudor rider just comes out of nowhere. And the little Destiny rider tries to follow him up. Right, Tudor has a pointless move from Tudor rider here. He's not going to do anything substantial in this race. Is there any sprint? Okay, there you go. As the Cofidis rider, the Lotto Destiny. It's the Lotto Destiny rider. Oh, to be honest, I don't know. Jesus, it's really between 3 people: Lotto Destiny, Direct Energies, and Nielsen Paulus. During that time, was able to finish a whole bottle of his drink or whatever, and just get off his bike and just walk. That is probably the most boring race I've seen, and I don't want to see a race like that. That was a waste. That was so bad. Oh my god. Okay. Well, that today was a very boring race, and I don't even really want to know just stay to see who got first, second. So, but we already know who won, so that's the most important. And then Martinez got a top 10. Those are the two most important facts we have to get from today. Whilst nothing else was fun. It was such a boring race. Oh my god. Jesus Christ. That was boring. Okay, well, hopefully see you guys Tuesday. Hopefully better than this race. Should be, because it's my favorite rider, so that alone will make it better than this. So, hopefully see you guys on Tuesday. Thanks for watching, and bye.